many horrific stories of our tyrannical government today doing things like that. It's just amazing. But Kim, you were there. You saw what happened. Maybe you can kind of walk us through that if you don't mind.
Of course, yeah, and I believe I have a unique perspective on this, and I certainly want to remember Rosanne Boyland. Uh, yeah, I was more close to the police, um, and when they did their major push at this one moment where it was like a synchronized chemical attack, and then a charge, and of course the crowd starts to get pushed and people fall down, and then people fell down on top of her. Once she fell down to the ground, people just tripped on her because we were packed like sardines, and pretty soon there was like logs falling down. Everybody was falling down on top of her until there was like a pile up of like maybe 8 people on top of this poor woman. And the crowd was so thick and being pressured and pushed so hard, people had to lean on the mound that she was under just to keep themselves from falling down. And in that sense, it's every man for himself. And 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 no one was trampling her. And I want to make that clear because I hear every once in a while people say that, and I take offense to that because it's almost like disparaging Trump supporters, our character, like we're just animals that trample people. And no, nobody trampled them. Everybody that was on top of her fell on top of her accidentally because they were pushed and they couldn't keep their footing either. And I realized this. I could hear the man crying that was with her, crying her name. And so I realized real quick I had to do something. So I started talking to the officers and I tried to reason with them. I told them, I said, look, I don't want her to die. And I begged them. I threw all my dignity out the window. I cried like a baby. I cried and I pleaded with these officers. I begged them for like 2 minutes. I just kept saying, please, I don't want her to die. You can save her. Please help her. This woman's going to die. And I just kept saying it over and over. I wanted to make it clear to them. And I kept saying it over and over. And I knew because I was feeling like I was going to die just from the pressure standing up. There were 3 times I thought I was going to die just because I couldn't breathe, because the pressure and the chemical agent in the air, and you're not getting oxygen, and you can feel yourself like about to pass out sometimes, and I couldn't imagine what was happening with the person underneath that mound, but I knew that it was horrible, it was hell, and and I just kept trying to get them to stop. I said, please just stop pushing. Just help her. Let her get up, please. I don't want her to die, please. And I remember this one officer, no, you. I said, you're killing her. You're going to kill her. You're killing her. No, you. He said, you. He had a foreign accent. I think he was from Central America. You, no, you. And I said, no, she's going to die. You guys are pushing. Nobody can get off of her. And then it was like 2 minutes to that. After a couple of minutes, I did turn to look back, and I turned my back on the officers, and that's when they came down with a club on my head when my back was turned. Um, and they have that quote in articles, like where I said, "You got me. You really hurt me now," because I saw stars and blood started coming down my forehead. And but you know what? I spilled blood trying to save a woman's life, and I'm proud of that because I tried to step up. And Americans have been trying to step up for the last 6 years. And at that point, like I was spent. Uh, I staggered out of there. People were starting to get off of her. I couldn't even bear to look. I couldn't even bear to look. I fell down. I was so delirious. There these leftists. They were, talking about it. In the weeks after, they tried to say I fell on top of her, and that I should be charged with her death. And they're just trying to like push this narrative so they push harder so that they can like get you arrested. And then when it gets reeled back, at least you're arrested finally. um I staggered away. And I remember telling people I think they killed a woman over where I was at. And I kept saying I think a woman died. And but just there was so much, it was so overwhelming because you felt like our country died that day. There was so much going on. Like everyone was in shock. Everyone was in shock about what happened. I mean, It could have been much worse. Like I said, there was that element of fear. You didn't know if they were going to come out with semi-automatic weapons and just start mowing us down. Because where were we at as a country? Like, how far was the tyrannical deep state going to go? You never know. But you had an obligation, in my opinion, like as a steward, as a good steward of what God has given us. He's given us a great country. He's given us. He's given me a family. He's given community. You have to fight for whatever God gives you, and that's why I was there. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to see. I wanted to bear witness. I wanted to do my part. I wanted to speak truth to power under my First Amendment right as an American, and that's why. That's why. And I would talk to people in the days and weeks after about. I said, there was a woman